Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
All night long, and they were able to get this win in spite of that. What did Tennessee say tonight with this win on the road in Tuscaloosa?
I thought it was a statement. I think that for most of the year, when we had conversations about who the best team in the SEC was, it was always, I think it might be Auburn. Look at Kentucky's ceiling. Look how good they can be when they play great. Oh, Alabama can put up 115 points on anybody in college basketball. Look at South Carolina making this run out of nowhere. Look how good they are. It feels like it wasn't until the last couple of weeks that we really started having a real conversation about how good this Tennessee team is and how good they can be. They're now all alone in first place in the SEC with this win. And they have a tough schedule down the stretch. They still are going to be challenged here in their last two games. But what stood out to me more than anything else is that they go on the road on game day in front of a completely sold out 15,000 people in Coleman Coliseum. And the two guys that we have been hyping all year long for them, Zakai Ziegler and Dalton Connect, combined to go 10 for 32 from the floor and 5 for 21 from three against the best offense in college basketball. And they still found a way to win on the road, despite blowing a lead and finding themselves down by as many as 7 points in the second half. I don't think that you can say enough about the job that they did defensively, Tennessee. I don't think you can say enough about how impressive this win is. And here's my biggest thing, right? Like on Tuesday night, Dalton Connect goes for, I think he scored 25 points in the last 12 minutes, finished with 39 points. And our whole thing was, I remember saying this very specifically, Tennessee, it doesn't really matter if they have anybody else. All you need to do is just give the ball to Dalton Connect and let him cook, and that's how they go and win games. That's not what they did tonight on the road against the team they were tied for first place in the SEC with in Alabama. They now have a sweep over Alabama, and they've beaten Auburn. They won at Kentucky. I could not be more impressed, Jeff, with what we saw from Tennessee tonight.
Because they've got men. I mean, when you look at it, how many teams, here's the difference between them and Kentucky. Their top 7 guys are all upperclassmen, right? I mean, Dalton Connect's probably 22, 23, whatever he is, right? Zakai Ziegler has played a ton of minutes. He's a junior coming back from that injury. He's looked completely different, really, over the last probably 6 weeks of the year. Didn't have a great shooting night tonight. But again, they've got role allocation. They've got older dudes. They've got bigs, Adu. They've got Vescovi, who knows how to play and now fills a role instead of having to do too much. So, to me, I was so out on this team at the beginning of the year. And even when Connect started to play well, I was like, all right, let's see if he can sustain it. Let's see if there are other guys can kind of fill in the gaps. He's sustained it. I mean, again, he's averaging 25 a game in SEC play. He's been as good as anybody in the country, probably including Zach Edey, over the last 2 months of the season. But again, it's Ziegler, it's Adu, it's Josiah Jordan-James, it's those other pieces that are older, that are men, that know how to guard, which they do. I mean, the reason Dalton Connect fits in so well, guys, is why. He doesn't really guard, but he doesn't really have to on this team.
Rob, can they find a way? I guess they're going to have the opportunities here, right? It just depends on how much they maximize them to get that 1 seed. What are they going to have to do? How much help do you think are they going to need from Arizona, for example? What's the outlook for Tennessee?
I think it's completely in their hands. I think if they win out, right? So they already have a win at Alabama, the sweep at Alabama, a home win over Auburn, a win at Kentucky, a win at Wisconsin. They beat Illinois at home, right? They have, what is that, 6 wins over in what you would consider quad 1A opportunities, right? They have 3 wins over top 7 teams. One of those is on the road. They still get South Carolina on the road before the season's over, and they get Kentucky at home. If they win out and then they go and they make a run in the SEC tournament, which is kind of the X factor when it comes to the seeding, what happens in these conference tournaments. But I think if they win out and they beat South Carolina on the road and they get Kentucky at home, they are going to head into the SEC tournament as the 4th number 1 seed. All due respect to Arizona, all due respect to North Carolina. I don't know how you could take a team that wins the outright SEC title when you know that Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, Auburn, even Florida are in this conference. If they win the outright regular season title, then to me, they have to be the team that is the 4th number 1 seed, especially when you consider they won at Wisconsin by 10 earlier this year. They beat Illinois at home earlier this year, right? It's not like they've only done some stuff in the SEC. So to me, they are the 4th number 1 seed, and as of right now, they are, and it is in their hands if it's going to be that as the season kind of progresses here.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, can I just say it's nice. This network obviously covers all levels of and corners of college basketball, but it's nice to hear Rob give the South a little bit of some reverence. We play basketball down here. You know, it's not just in the Big East.
Wait,
we're not. I live in the South. I live in the South, man. We're not talking about Memphis. I live in the South. That's where Memphis is. And we're not talking about the Big East right now. We're not talking about the Big 12 right now. We're not talking about the Big 10. We're talking about the Dirty South. You know, have a little respect for the Dirty South basketball.
No, I think the SEC is actually really entertaining this year because it's been kind of wide open most of the year, and now we've come to accept that Tennessee probably is a notch above everybody else in this league right now. I do think they're probably have the inside track to the final number 1 seed. You know, UConn, Purdue, we know. Houston, we know for the most part. And I think the 4th one, listen, the Pac-12 stinks. Arizona's had some bad losses. If you look at it, Tennessee really hasn't had any bad losses for the most part. What their worst loss at Texas A&M, right? That's probably their worst loss this year. So is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And here's the other thing, like Oregon State, Arizona lost at Oregon State. Arizona lost at Stanford. I know that they have the win over Alabama on
and the league stinks.
Yes, and they won at Duke and they beat Michigan. Look, I get it. They have a lot of really good wins and really high-level wins, but they're also cleaning up against a conference that stinks. And again, I think a lot of this is going to end up getting determined by what happens in the conference tournaments. And I don't think that by any stretch of the imagination, North Carolina is out of the picture. I still think that they can find a way to climb up into that number 1 seed line, but it's Tennessee. It's Tennessee.
But how are you climbing up? Rob, how are you climbing up when ultimately all you have in front of you is a win against Carolina that's going to help you in the regular season finale? They have it, but Tennessee's still got Kentucky and South Carolina left.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.